It's been one of the most talked about storylines in hip-hop this year. Kendrick Lamar's massive tour success, Drake's rocky response, and the waves it's made across the internet. But now, what's getting even more attention is something completely different. Rumors, narratives, and wild claims flying around about Kendrick allegedly needing police escorts, fleeing cities, and even calling cops on Drake. It sounds like a movie plot, but somehow this is where we are. It all started when footage came out of Kendrick Lamar leaving Toronto right after his show, apparently surrounded by a 25-car police escort. Immediately, the internet began spinning it into something dramatic. People from Drake's side, especially the hardcore OVO fans, sometimes referred to online as the OVH or Army, started saying Kendrick was fleeing the city like he was running from something. Some even went as far as to claim he had police stationed outside of Drake's mansion. But let's slow down and look at this with some common sense. First off, Toronto to New York is a 90-minute flight. Kendrick has been living in New York for years now, so heading back home after a show isn't anything out of the ordinary. Artists do it all the time. People fly from Vegas to LA between shows constantly. It's not some big deal. In fact, it's probably the smartest move. Why stay in a hotel with a bunch of people yelling outside or possibly causing drama when you can be in your own bed in your own home? And as far as that police escort goes, it's highly unlikely Kendrick himself coordinated all of that. Think about it. When a tour brings in millions of dollars to a city, the city and the venue often take matters into their own hands to make sure nothing goes wrong. There's too much money on the line. Toronto showed major love to Kendrick. The crowd was electric, so if there were a few bad apples or OVO superfans acting crazy, of course the city would beef up security. Drake fans tried to spin it as Kendrick being afraid, but it's just not true. If anything, he's being smart. In today's world, threats can come from anywhere, and the police have the same internet we all do. Probably more access to information, honestly. So if they're hearing chatter about possible danger, they're going to take it seriously. It has nothing to do with Kendrick being scared. It has everything to do with moving intelligently. And let's not forget, Drake himself had similar police details during his own tour stops. When Drake was in Philly, he also had law enforcement keeping an eye out. So why are we acting like it's a big deal when Kendrick does the same thing? Joe Budden and his crew were talking about this exact topic. They said the idea that Kendrick fled was just ridiculous. They acknowledged the heavy security presence but said it made sense. He performed, the crowd went crazy, and then he went back home. That's superstar behavior. That's what major artists do. Joe even joked that Drake is like the president of Canada. And when someone has that much influence, even fans might think they're doing something in their honor by causing problems. That's where it gets dangerous because you can't control what someone else might do. That's why the security measures are in place. No one wants some delusional fan trying to prove their loyalty by acting out. And Kendrick knows that. He's not taking risks. He's just being cautious, especially when you've got people like Top 5 in Toronto who've been publicly threatening artists for years. There's also a lot of hypocrisy in the way people are talking about this. Why would Kendrick put cops outside Drake's house? That doesn't even make sense. Wouldn't it make more sense for Drake to have security outside his own home, especially during a very public beef? Even in previous situations involving Drake, people have noticed police presence outside his property. That's not new. One clip showed someone filming outside Drake's house and pointing out 2 police cars. That's not some wild security force. It's just normal protocol when something major is going on. And let's be honest, Drake's made more than a few enemies over the years. This isn't all about Kendrick. There are plenty of reasons why he might want added security at any given time. At the end of the day, Kendrick's not some villain creeping around the city calling in the police. He's a megastar with a sold-out tour, and he's protecting himself and his team. That's it. When you're pulling crowds like Kendrick has been, when the stadium is literally shaking with energy and fans are screaming for an encore of a diss track that's been out for over a year, you don't take any chances. People have been quick to say the tour wasn't going to sell out, that Kendrick couldn't draw a crowd. All of that turned out to be false. Every show has been packed. The energy has been unreal. In fact, some fan footage makes the crowd sound quiet, but that's just how phones work. The sound gets drowned out. People that were actually there say the fans were louder than the performers. Some even brought their own cameras to capture. The vibe and the consensus was clear. It was a movie. Kendrick's performance in Toronto was a victory lap. Fans were screaming "Not Like Us" over and over, demanding it be played again. That song came out over a year ago, and it's still the anthem. And even Joe Budden, who's never been shy about giving Kendrick a hard time, admitted it was impressive. He's on an unstoppable run. The tour is breaking records, and it's likely going to end up being the highest grossing rap tour in history. Meanwhile, Drake's latest release didn't exactly help his case. He dropped a new song, possibly a collab with Smiley, and it landed with a thud. Even Joe Budden's camp said it was one of the worst tracks they'd heard, with low streaming numbers and little to no excitement from fans. People weren't feeling it, plain and simple. And it didn't help that Drake had been teasing a big video premiere, only to have it pushed back after all the hype. The online reaction was brutal. People said Drake was scrambling for ideas, trying to catch up while Kendrick was miles ahead. And that's where the narrative of Kendrick being scared just falls apart. If he was scared, he wouldn't be out here performing these songs in enemy territory with the city behind him and fans singing every word. That's not fear. That's dominance. And for those pushing the idea that Kendrick had law enforcement interfere with Drake's life, that's not only false, it's reckless. Defamation is a real thing. And if you're spreading lies with someone's name attached, especially when it comes to public figures and legal matters, it could come back to bite you. Just because you run a blog or have a media brand doesn't mean you're untouchable. If you post false info, it's still your responsibility. The real story here isn't about fear, it's about strategy. Kendrick isn't running. He's managing a multi-million-dollar tour with the care and precision it deserves. When you have this much on the line, you don't risk anything. You make sure everyone's safe, the shows go smoothly, and your legacy stays intact. And he's doing exactly that. Whether it's Live Nation, TDE, the city itself, or all of the above, the people involved in this tour know what's at stake. They put security in place not because Kendrick's scared, but because they're smart. When threats are out there, whether real or not, you prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And let's be real, nobody's touching Drake either. He's also a global superstar with resources, security, and access. This entire feud might be fun to watch from the outside, but it doesn't mean either artist is out here acting recklessly. They're both operating in a high-stakes world, and they know how to move accordingly. So the next time someone tries to say Kendrick Lamar is fleeing or scared, remember this. He's on top of the world right now with sold-out shows, the loudest fans in the game, and a diss record that's still shaking stadiums a year later. If that's what fear looks like, then maybe more artists should be afraid. Because from where the rest of us are sitting, it looks like Kendrick's just making smart moves and winning while doing it.